When Bobby's mom met a new boyfriend, a lot of things started to change. Bobby and his mom moved into the boyfriend's house, Bobby stopped going to his old school, and Bobby lost his loving support family. Soon Bobby was completely isolated, and when Bobby stopped showing up for school, the darkness inside of the household would come to light. This case shows the tragic story of how domestic abuse can end in murder and how abuse and control can lead even a mother to participate in the torture. This is the case of 10-year-old Bobby Äikiä. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Elin, and on this channel I cover true crime cases that have occurred in the Nordic countries. I want to give a big warning before starting this video. This video will include talks about the abuse and torture of a child, domestic abuse, and sexual assault towards children, so if that's something that you don't want to watch, I completely understand. Click out of this video now, and I hope that I will see you in another case. If you want to watch the rest of the case, you can also watch the video, and I will give a warning before the graphic parts come, so you can just skip forward whenever that part comes. With that being said, if you like my channel, please subscribe, and now let's get into the tragic case that happened in Sweden. So Bobby Äikiä was born on the 12th of March 1995 and grew up in Stenungsund in Sweden with his mom. His biological father, William, left Bobby's mom early in the relationship, and he did not have close contact with Bobby anymore. There is overall not much information on the internet about their relationship or William's background, so I can't really tell you much more than that. But Bobby's mom, Nina Äikiä, was born in Finland and was bullied growing up, so she always felt ugly and not loved. Nina's dad was an alcoholic, and he often hit her mom, which was very bad for her. She built up a wall to protect herself, and in my opinion it seems like she does not have much feelings at all, as she had a hard time feeling positive feelings and empathy. She was described as pretty cold, and she was also very shy. As a teenager, Nina started looking for attention from guys and tried to have different relationships with many different guys. As a 19-year-old, she fell pregnant with Bobby after dating William for only a short while. This was not planned, but she chose to keep the child anyway. So giving birth was very hard for Nina, as she had to do an emergency C-section, and Bobby was in the hospital for a while after the birth. During this time, Nina fell into a depression and also had suicidal thoughts. She was happy to have Bobby, but has stated that she saw him more like a brother than her own child, maybe because her mom helped a lot with taking care of Bobby. They lived in a rental apartment, and they had some kind of contact with the social services, as Bobby got a support family at the age of 3. Bobby had a medical condition, as he was suffering from an intellectual disability called Fragile X syndrome that made his personality almost autistic, as he was very shy and careful, and basically he had a very hard time socializing with other people. He did not like sounds or talking to people that he did not know. The people who knew Bobby, for example his support family, describe him as the opposite of this, and this was probably because he felt secure enough to truly open up to them. Towards them he was happy and curious, and he loved animals and especially horses. He liked riding a tractor and helping in the house, and he loved being with his support family. Bobby's disabilities made him less developed, and he had a hard time concentrating. He went to a special school that he liked, and he was overall doing well in school. In the summer of 2005, things started to change. Bobby's mom Nina met an older man called Eddie Larsson, who claimed that he was a farmer and lived on a big farm. And this was something that Nina had dreamed about since she was little, to live on the countryside, and Eddie basically promised her this quiet country life. Eddie also had a special interest for BDSM, which is a type of roleplay where one person is dominant and the other is submissive, kinda like 50 Shades of Grey. He also described himself as very attractive, and Nina basically fell head over heels for him. They met in the summer of 2005, and the picture that he had painted was not reality, as he did not own a farm and he did not look the way that he had described, but they still got engaged in August and moved in together. So Eddie had a big register at the police. When he met his ex, the story was similar. He said that he lived on a big yard and that he had an interest for BDSM. Early on in the relation, he already hit her, and this was followed by many assaults during their relationship. She was soon stuck in an abusive relationship, and he abused her sometimes many times in a day. He had also been punishing her son by, for example, letting him stand outside in the snow for hours and pushing his head into the food and so on. He soon started threatening this woman, saying that he wanted to get rid of her son and that if she did not do it, then he would make sure that her son disappeared. So she started planning her escape from Eddie and soon managed to escape and reported Eddie to the police. Eddie was after this sentenced to 3 years in prison for rape, sexual harassment, and aggravated assault. After his release, he started renting a house in the forest, and this house was in very bad condition. There was no toilet, no warm water, and no heating. He lived in this house for about 2 years before he met Nina. So this was the house that Nina and Bobby moved into with Eddie, even if Bobby did not want this at all. Nina just suddenly told Bobby's support family that they were moving away and they will not be seeing Bobby anymore. They were super worried since they knew that Bobby needs extra support. After the move, the support family tried to contact Nina to meet Bobby somehow, but there was always new excuses for why they could not meet. Nina sometimes had to suddenly hang up the phone, and the support family started wondering if maybe Eddie was not treating Nina well. In October, Bobby started his new school and he really liked it there. In the school, the teachers did not notice anything strange except for the fact that Bobby was talking a lot about sex and alcohol, but they never reported this. But the 15th of December would be Bobby's last day in school. In mid-December, Eddie lost his job, so him and Nina started drinking a lot of alcohol. In December, Nina called Bobby's school telling them that Bobby was sick and would not be coming to school before Christmas. In January, she did the same thing and reported him as absent. On the 29th of January 2006, Eddie suddenly called the emergency services saying that he could not find Bobby at the mall. Eddie basically said that Bobby had been waiting for him and Nina in the car as they went into the mall, and when they came back he was just suddenly gone. The police started searching around the mall and other areas, but they could not find Bobby anywhere. They then released to the radio that Bobby was missing. Meanwhile, Nina and Eddie were just calm as if nothing had happened. The police also called Bobby's previous support family, and they thought that this whole scenario was strange since Bobby would never leave the car by himself. When the police questioned Nina and Eddie, they straight away knew that something was wrong, and they basically believed that Nina and Eddie had something to do with Bobby's disappearance. After a couple of days, the police got CCTV footage of Eddie and Nina stopping the car at a gas station on the same day as they reported Bobby missing, and in the footage there was no sign of Bobby anywhere. 2 weeks after Bobby disappeared, Eddie and Nina were arrested. Soon after, Nina requested a new questioning and changed her whole story. Nina told the police that Bobby was never with them that day in the mall and told them that Bobby was not alive anymore. She told them that Bobby's body had been in a barn on their yard until the day that they decided to throw his body into the lake. They then started searching the lake and soon found Bobby in the water. After Eddie got to know about this, he also admitted to dumping the body in the lake, but he did however blame Nina for the whole murder. Nina then started telling the police about Bobby's last time alive, and just a warning for sensitive people, skip forward if you don't want to listen to this, because I will go into some of the abuse and torture that Bobby had to suffer. The abuse of Bobby is believed to have begun in the fall of 2005 when Nina witnessed Eddie push Bobby's head into a plate of food after Bobby did not want to eat it. It was later revealed that there was cat food mixed with the food, which just sounds super nasty. Basically, they used to punish Bobby by taping him to a chair and hit him. They sometimes used electricity or a vacuum to sexually assault him. They also sometimes forced him to drink alcohol or forced him to stay outside without clothes, and we are talking Sweden, so the winters are very cold. He was also burned with cigarettes and hit with sticks. There were also a lot of other nasty things going on, but I think that everyone got the point already. On Bobby's last day, the 14th of January 2006, Nina and Eddie had thrown Bobby into the snow without clothes, and Eddie took a shovel and started to add snow on top of him until his whole body was covered in snow except his head. After this, he was so weak that he could not walk, so they carried him inside and taped him to a chair for a while until moving him to his bed. Later that night, they went into Bobby's room and he was unfortunately not alive anymore. The police have later stated that the house is not somewhere where anyone, let alone a child, should live. There were no blankets in the home and there were a lot of inappropriate things for a 10-year-old child. The autopsy showed that Bobby died following the abuse he suffered, but he had also fallen unconscious and threw up and basically choked from this. Forensic psychiatry showed that both Nina and Eddie were fully aware of the crimes committed. According to Nina, it was Eddie who wanted to hurt Bobby, but she had been helping and watching. According to her, she was also a victim of abuse and was scared of him, which I do believe, but I just feel like there is absolutely no excuse for letting something like this happen to your child, honestly. On the 9th of May 2006, Nina and Eddie were sentenced to 10 years imprisonment each. None of them were sentenced for murder and instead aggravated assault, manslaughter, and false alarm. They were not sentenced to murder as it could not be proven that they actually meant to kill Bobby. Today, Eddie and Nina are already out of prison, living their lives with protected identities after serving only 6 years for what they did to Bobby. Nina even had a child with a new man, but social services took the child away from Nina. On the 6th of June 2006, Bobby's funeral was held, and on the funeral the song Twinkle Twinkle Little Star was played as this was Bobby's favorite song. Bobby's story is a story that the country of Sweden will never forget, as the heartbreaking case touched so many souls. The case would later change the law in Sweden. In 2008, the government established a new law called Lex Bobby to prevent children suffering from abuse. The law says that a special child protection investigation must be carried out if a child has died due to violence or another crime and the child has been in need of protection. This has, however, been highly criticized as it does not really work in practice and there has been a lot of child murders after this. But that's all that I have for this case, and this case is of course a very heavy case as it involves a child, and honestly what scares me about this case is how fast it all went. I mean, Nina met Eddie in the summer of 2005 and in January 2006 Bobby was already dead. The abuse escalated super quickly and it's scary to think that these people are just living normal lives today out in our society. But I'm gonna wrap up the case here. Thank you so much for watching and I hope that I will see you in my next case. Goodbye everyone.